Good morning. My name is Auchettl, and I'm with Holly Woods in America, and I'm actually from Australia. So this is quite an exciting conversation across the other side of the world. And we're here to talk about mindfulness to manifestation, and two amazing words in their own right. But when we can make a shift from mindfulness to manifestation, for me, that's about when everything happens. So, Holly, welcome to the call. It should be an exciting call because neither of us know exactly what's going to happen in this call.
Hi, Barry. Great to be here. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you. We always have so much fun. So Who knows what will happen today?
So who knows? And so we've decided to record today just to see what magic does occur and to allow you listening an opportunity to hear what's actually going on. And I thought we might just start with a little bit of a background from each one of us. So I'll go first. My background is I actually used to work for Price Waterhouse as an accountant. You probably didn't know that, Holly, but that's where I started from.
I had no idea.
And I went from there into teaching for 20 years and taught accounting, computers, and religious education. So it was quite an interesting group of variety of stuff. But really, I guess my life changed about 25 years ago. I actually improved my own eyesight through natural methods and got out of Coke bottle glasses, which was, phenomenal in its own right. There was then a number of old health issues that really, I guess, springboarded me to look at a whole range of things, including kinesiology that I use now as part of my life vision mentoring. And it's really about a new way of thinking. And in a way, that's what we're looking at today, is this new way of thinking. So I'm excited to see what that gets us to. I've been helping people around the world now for at least 20 years. And I've also been running what's called life vision mentoring with people. I'm the author of 7 books. I'm the creator of Conversations Inspirational Game, and love living on the Gold Coast. So it's pretty cool. Just a short background about me. Holly, tell us about you.
Thanks, Barry. I sure wish I'd known you before I had laser surgery a number of years ago, because I would have loved to have improved my eyes organically. But anyway, and it's been such a delight to work with you over the last roughly 6 months, and have enjoyed our sort of co-mentoring opportunities. So my background, I've had many careers, 19 in fact, and I think I was a scientist at one point, but I've been in the transformational arena for, more than 30 years, much of that as a coach of many sorts. And for the past roughly 12, 15 years, I've been doing what I call purpose work, so helping people become really aligned with the essence of who they are, and to gain some understanding, clarity about why they're really here on the planet, and then to help them move out of their own way to live that fundamental direction of their purpose. So I give them tools to have sort of like a GPS to get them oriented to their authentic selves, and then really to begin living into that. So I've also been doing work helping people manifest these very powerful, epic lives based in purpose. And that's my purpose, really, is why I'm here. So it's been great fun helping people live into that level of potential.
I think what's amazing is we both come from traditional, business or traditional science backgrounds. And I think in some ways it still helps to keep us grounded, like this idea of just doing new thought work without having something to anchor that. And I think your science background helps you to anchor that as much as the accounting background helps to anchor me into the business model.
Absolutely agree. I think different than many people who do purpose work, I bring that very rigorous approach to understanding who we are. So I tell my clients we're collecting lots of different kinds of data, so we can look at you as a multifaceted gem from many different perspectives, and then we pull all those puzzle pieces together and figure out who you are. So it's, rather than the sort of simple, what's your passion kinds of quizzes, it's a very rigorous approach that I use to finding purpose for people. So
Sure. And what I like about both of us, we both tend to have a tendency to do like pre and post work, where we'll test where are you now, and might be a number out of 10 or a number out of 100 as a percentage, and then we compare that afterwards, so that there's more than just a subjective, are you feeling better, which is, a little bit hard to get out sometimes when we don't know ourselves how we're actually feeling, but we can actually muscle test to determine various states of well-beingness, I guess.
yeah, and like you, Barry, I think some of what I'm also looking for, in addition to potentially quantitative data, is what does that look like in your life? So you and I both are very focused on helping people live much more profoundly powerful and enhanced lives on the planet, so that it's not that just we're becoming more developed or better people or more personal spiritual development. We both, I think, want to see people live really powerfully into their fullness. So this topic of manifestation is at the core of both of our own lives and our work.
That's right, because I often say to people, they say, I feel better. And I say, well, you won't know until you're out in the world and see what happens. And
right,
changes take place. And that's where the magic takes place, I really believe.
Yeah, I so agree. Most of my clients, and having worked with you in your work, I know that, it's not enough just to feel better these days. The life we live on this crazy planet, we actually need to have the opportunity to have more impact. So not only do we want to become more powerful and purposeful, but we want to actually be able to get out there and do things that matter for the globe. And so many of the people I work with really have that intention to contribute at a deep level.
Yeah, and I think it's great that there are actually so many people out there doing that, like the fact that so many people want to make a difference. It's no longer about one person, saving the planet, like that's really old school sort of stuff. And so
right.
It's about we're all out here doing our part, and then we all help someone who then helps someone who then helps someone. And that's what I like.
Yeah, right. And even more powerfully is just that being our most authentic expression of ourselves, living into our own personal manifestation is the most significant contribution we can make.
Sure.
I think you and I both believe that very powerful truth about how we can most contribute is just being our fullest selves.
Yeah. I want to look at the topic because there are two really key words that we've chosen, and I want to look at each one individually, and then maybe we can look at how we're going to shift that from one to the other.
Awesome.
The word mindfulness, it's a great word. It's one of my favourite virtues. Is involved in all the Virtues Project, and mindfulness is a word that I always choose if I can get a chance. And before I talk, I'd just be interested, what do you consider mindfulness to be? I mean,
Well, my conception of mindfulness is really a version of just being present in every moment of the day. So being really attentive to the experience that's right here, right now, so that I can be most available for what wants to come forth through me, which also means that I am not either looking at the past or looking at the future, which provoke fear and constraint and all kinds of limitations. My belief systems totally get in the way when I'm not right here. So mindfulness, in my mind, gives us much more opportunity to live fuller, more powerful lives.
Yeah.
How about you?
I really like the idea about being present. Like, I think that when I start thinking about the past, I could have done that or I should have done that, and I tend to get lost.
Uh-huh.
When I go into the future, I tend to go into what could be rather than what is now, and it becomes too much for me. So I do find that being present is really important aspect of mindfulness. The word I often use, it's an interesting word, the word closest that I would associate with mindfulness is awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the word that I associate closest with awareness is vision. So when I talk about working with vision, it really is about working with awareness and mindfulness. And the way that I work with people is it's about allowing stuff to happen rather than, controlling the situation and trying to work it out. So allowing to me is really a surrendering process. And surrendering doesn't have to be a negative connotation. People seem to sometimes think that surrendering is sometimes giving up, but surrendering is allowing the magic of the universe to guide us through a process rather than us trying to sort of fumble through a maze. So I have that. And the other side of mindfulness for me is it stops me reacting. And so a lot of times in my past, I would react to situation. Someone will say something to me and I'll go all defensive and I'll react by responding, rather than being aware of something. I'll get defensive and try to justify myself, and the communication just doesn't happen. These days, I'm probably more heading toward responding to what people say. So, and part of that is almost like just taking a breath between statements. So if someone says something to me, I just don't jump in straight away. I just sit with that for a second and see what comes up. And
Beautiful.
That to me makes all the difference. So it's a really powerful word, and I think if we have mindfulness, and when we have mindfulness, it allows us to really connect rather than just wait for our turn to speak or that type of stuff.
That's beautiful. I had no idea actually before this conversation how similarly we view the word mindfulness, and the only slight distinction I would make is I tend to use the word purpose instead of vision, but same thing really, because I know that when one is really present to who they are, who they authentically are, the truth of who they are, they're more likely to be living purposeful lives, which then lets you experience yourself from a deep inner place that guides you and focuses you and then tends to keep you in the present, because you're not worrying about or reacting to life in ways that we often do as humans. So I find that living in a mindful way allows your purpose to emerge in each and every moment. And I often teach my clients, and in my own life, I have learned to evaluate the energetic component of being present, so you can experience, is this moment in alignment with who I really am? You begin to feel those sensations and that energetic impulse in you, so that you get to make decisions based in the present moment, as opposed to what those inner voices are saying, the critic, etc. So being really present to this moment, and then this moment lets you live more purposefully and intentionally.
And what I like is we both have techniques, some of them are similar, some are different, to help people become more mindful, to help people become more aware and more present. And it's a really nice process. And I noticed that we both have processes for ourselves individually in our own practices.
Yeah, you got to start here.
Then we're able to help others. So that's pretty cool. And I was sort of just as we're talking, I sort of really recognize that a lot of the work that I do is about vibration and frequency. And vibration to me is about the inner world and our connection, raising consciousness, which is really about mindfulness in many ways. And frequency, which is about our outer world or our ability to manifest stuff, is the manifestation side. So it really is this combination of coming from within and then manifesting, the stuff that we want, whether it's physical stuff or relationships or a better life or whatever it is. That comes first from a place of mindfulness, from a place of raising our vibration.
Yeah. And, it's fascinating how aligned our own work is in the world, even though we're using slightly different methods, that I'm helping people look on the inside to find their essential purpose, reason for being on the planet this time around, and then helping them live into that. So, becoming aligned in the material world to begin manifesting from that inner source. So really living into the fullness of the highest potential of them.
And you're right, language is just the difference, isn't it?
Right.
We're talking about the same thing from two slightly language ways.
Right.
It's great because people listening, it means that some of them will go, I understand what you're saying or what he's saying, and it doesn't matter because we're talking about the same thing in two different ways. And it's so true that when we do talk to people, quite often it's about finding that we do actually have a common language, even though we might use different terms.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the key for both of us is helping people live into that potential through, their life and their work, their career.
Sure.
And so each of us in our own way really helps people begin to take the steps forward to live into those material world lives.
So let's look at that. Let's look at this manifestation and what that means. And I'll go first in this case. And
sure.
And when I think about manifestation, this is about what happens. And I want to give two examples of manifestation in my own life. And then I'd love you to do the same for you, because I think manifestation is about, show me what happens. And one of the things that happened for me was, I want to give a recent one. I want to give one that happened back in 2001, which is going back a fair while now. And I went to bed one night and I said, what am I meant to do with my life? And it was really a frustration thing, not a prayer. It was almost like, well, what's going on here? And that night, I literally dreamt about a board game called Conversations. And the next 3 days, I put it together. Within 2 weeks, a whole lot of people in America, including Neil Donald Walsh, got to play it. It then got produced. It got played at a world conference in New York, and it just took off from there. And the idea of manifestation was something outside outside my control. I still had to allow all that to occur,
right.
Do action steps. These things just seemed to happen by itself, and it was bigger than what I could have organised, and the game is still bigger than what I could have organised. So that's sort of something that happened.
That's a great story, Barry. It's really phenomenal. I haven't heard that whole story.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it just shifted, not only shifted myself, but it shifted my relationship with my family, my children, how they talk to each other. It started from there, and then it went out. And so it was been a great process. And then recently, just, even in the last week, I happened to connect to a lady who was the past president of the Speakers Association in New Zealand. And we are now doing some work together. She wants to do some work doing some keynote speaking with me. And so the whole keynote speaking side has just taken off in the last week. And so, I'm really excited about that as well. So these things just continually happen for the right people and the right events, the right dreams to show up for me. And part of me is just really grateful just about receiving it. That's, I guess, my role is just to have that receiving and gratitude for it.
Well, I know that you're a believer, which is so much of how manifestation occurs, is that we can't have those doubts in ourselves that limit us. We have to, as you call it, stay in the vortex. So I know that's such a big part of how you bring things into reality.
It is true. Like it's a case for me. It's about really feeling it. Like I can really, with the public speaking work at the moment, I can really feel that. So it's not that this is a good idea, let's do this. It's something that's just innate within me, and it's like, this just makes sense. Why not?
Yeah. So I know that I experience this. You get me all excited here. When I actually feel things coming down the pike, and for me, that's kind of how manifestation happens. One of my strangest manifestation stories I had this, what year was this? Like 2013, I think it was. I had a middle of the night calling. Woke up in the middle of the night with the word petaluma, and I'm like, what? What's a petaluma? And I was living in Colorado at the time, and I had no idea what message I was being given. I didn't know if it was person, place, or thing. And I got up and Googled Petaluma, and it's a little town in Northern California. And I was like, I can't go now. I've got kids in high school, and I'm, got a life here. And over the next couple of years, as I began to explore the possibility, had no idea why I was supposed to move. I ultimately did move. I followed this calling because I felt the urge. I just kept, it grew, and grew, and it became my reality that I was actually going to move across a couple states. And did, in fact, move to the northern San Francisco Bay Area, and life just exploded and became something very different. And I've been on this trajectory ever since, which has really been, sort of fantastical, magical, not always sunny, rosy, but it's certainly been a journey. And even more recently, I've done a lot of consulting work in addition to my coaching and mentoring, and had just in the last year known that I'm supposed to be doing more work in businesses and companies, because I have this capacity to really help companies become thriving and sustainable and do I'm a systems thinker. So I kind of said, I think I'm supposed to be doing this. What does that look like? And I started really feeling it. And then one day, boom, the whole system downloaded, and I came up with this model. And I'm now actually writing proposals and working with companies to do purpose-aligned business design, which is fascinating work and just an extension of doing purpose work of a leader within companies. So really helping companies align around a leader's purpose. And, I couldn't have done that if I didn't believe in my own capacity and believe that that's what I'm here to do. So
that's great. And the word that I hear, and I guess, we both have there, is that courage to take action,
right,
have these dreams and have these visions. And it is about having the courage to step forth in that, I've just got to do this. And it's like, feel the fear and do it anyway, almost, it's like, I'm just going to do this because I know this is where I need to go.
It's funny because virtually, like 95% of the people I work with in a coaching capacity, they tell me, well, I don't really know what I'm here to do. And I don't know this or I don't know that. And in uncovering and deconstructing them, all kinds of things come out. Well, I did have that dream, or this thing occurred, or there was this synchronicity, and it's like, what? It's like, well, it didn't feel important, or I was afraid to tell somebody. So most of us have these visions. You can think, well, we're unusual because we have these visions. Like, no, actually, almost everybody has them. Definitely. We just mostly ignore them because we don't know where they come from and who was that voice.
I get that. I remember I worked with this lady once, and it came up that she had to do art. Like, it was really specific. I was doing her life's purpose. And I said, look, it's come up, you need to do artwork. I said, do you do any art? And she said, oh, no. And I said, well, look, it's really come up. And she was like really persistent that, oh, no, that's not what I meant to do. And I said, well, look, would you be willing to have a go at it? And she said, well, I've already got some easels and some paint canvases. I said, hang on. So there was a part of her that knew what was happening. And she was in such denial about this gift that she had. And then she started doing this amazing artwork. And she had it already. Like, she had bought all the easels and bought the paints. And I said, not everyone has easels and paper canvases sitting in the back lounge, So.
I call those whispers. Our soul is constantly whispering to us what we should be doing in the world, but we just, oh no, that would be too impractical, or I can't possibly make enough money or pay my bills, and just, on and on we go about our limiting beliefs. So, I mean, as you said earlier, living into a full manifestation is truly about listening and believing, you having faith that the universe really is guiding you in the right direction, even if sometimes it doesn't feel like it.
And I think the whispers can get louder as you get used to it too. You know, like,
Uh-huh.
as you learn to tune in, those whispers get louder and louder. And
Uh-huh.
so it seems like they're coming more often, but I think we're just able to tune into them more.
Right. I said this to somebody today. The whispers can become like downright knocks on the head,
Yeah, I was
or
thinking too before.
self-imposed catastrophes if we aren't listening fully. One of the things I notice is when you've had the message a number of times and you continue to ignore it. Generally, if you don't voluntarily step into it, and that's really your direction, then something happens.
Sure.
Catastrophic, either an illness or health issue, or we have accidents, or, things kind of erupt because literally we are intended to be here on purpose and live these very directional manifested lives. And when we're not, the universe tries to self-correct for us. Like, okay, you can either choose or have a choice made for you.
Yeah. And in a way, we've chosen on a higher level, I believe, anyway, earlier on.
Right.
Just part of it's accepting the choices that we've already made anyway.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about the business side a little bit, because you did mention about working within businesses and doing proposals for businesses. And I've been doing the same in terms of helping businesses with their mindset and shifting mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to talk about how working together, how you see that together we would make a shift in business thinking, whether that be large businesses or whether it be small businesses or even individuals who are wanting to run their own businesses.
Yeah, so I mean, we both are very skilled, have a lot of capacity in helping people uncover who they really are, their authentic nature and what they're here to do. And from what I know in my work, I do work with a lot of entrepreneurs and founders and executives, and generally most businesses are built on a founder's core purpose or beliefs, whether they know it or not.
Sure.
And so when you really clearly articulate and claim that specific purpose, it's more helpful to begin to make strategic decisions aligned with that purpose. And so some of how I know that we would work with business owners and small or large is to help them really align with who they are.
And that's, to me, would be both our greatest efforts in
Mm-hmm.
terms of making that change is in shifting where they've been to where they're going to,
Mm-hmm.
both energetically, but also as a mindset, also, shifting the negative language into positive language. And that's something that I always helping people to do, to shift, like the negative language tends to have a negative impact and it has negative results. When I can get people and myself and shift to a more positive language, then those positive results are going to come out of it. And part of the way I do that is actually through this game that I created called Conversations, because
Mm-hmm.
the way of teaching people how to be more positive, both to themselves and in listening to each other, because it's recognizing that other people also have wisdom, and it's about gaining the wisdom from each other, not just themselves. And so the work that I do with people is probably twofold. One is energetically shifting the mindset of people through kinesiology, through just awareness of language that people are using. And I've done about 4 or 5 facilitation of a whole lot of different types of communication, including nonviolent communication, the Virtues Project, all those things, to really help people get their language right. And then with the game, it's a tool that can be used to actually practice that in real life, so they get a chance to actually do that. And then what you do, which I think is slightly different to me, is that you almost fine-tune some of those things on an even more detailed level.
Well, there is some of that. It's fine-tuning energetically and, help people uncover whatever restraints, roadblocks they may have in their own, mental conception of who they are, so their own identity becomes more malleable and not so rigid. So help people almost see themselves into a new way of being. But I also, a lot of my work is really also about getting people to take steps into the direction that their vision or their purpose is intending for them to go. So, kind of back to the courage is really believing in the actual intent of your life, and then taking small, tiny, low risk steps, and then to begin to feel the anchoring of that purposeful direction in your life, and building on that, creating feedback systems that support you to really imagine that I can move here. There's quite a few methodologies I use to do that.
So I think together, what I'm really hearing though is together there's going to be this major shift in both awareness and manifestation, isn't it? Both
Completely.
And manifestation.
Yeah.
So,
I don't actually think you can do one without the other. In fully, I don't think you can be fully mindful and not begin to manifest, and I certainly don't think you can manifest well if you're not mindful. So they feel like great partners.
yeah. And I guess one of the things that we're looking at is we talk about from mindfulness to manifestation, because it has to start with ourselves. So people often say, like, how can we make more money? How can we be more productive? How can we be this? And it's like, okay, take a breath. Let's go back and we'll get past those sort of glass ceilings that people create for themselves.
Yeah, it all starts within, and believing in the reality of who we are, and the contribution that we're here to make is really, from where the real manifestation occurs.
Yeah. So Holly and I are looking at doing a whole lot of processes and workshops and seminars in California, around the San Francisco area. So if people want to get in contact with us, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you, Holly?
So Holly at hollywoodscoaching.com, or you can look me up on my website, hollywoodscoaching.com.
And mine is Barry at barryauchettl.com, which is the easiest way to grab me. And it's Auchettl is AUCHETTL if you're listening to the podcast version. So it's barryauchettl.com. So Holly, look, this has been really great. I'm really looking forward to doing the work that we do together.
Likewise.
For each other and for individuals, but taking that further and really helping people on a global scale.
Yeah, I've just had so much fun working with you, Barry. It's been a blast, and I really look forward to continuing that, and looking forward to what we're going to bring into the world.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. Please give us some feedback on what you're interested in. Bye, everyone.